Get your attention. But it is my great pleasure to welcome you here this evening to the Robert Sainsbury Lecture. It's lovely to have so many people, both known and unknown, to come and join us here. I was thinking about the Robert Sainsbury Lecture and why it is that certain people get to have a memorial lecture and others don't. And I was thinking that Robert Sainsbury was an absolutely remarkable person, and we do want to celebrate his life. But it's not really the individual that we celebrate with a memorial lecture. It's the idea that the ideas or the sort of energy or the desires that they had in their life to achieve get continued. And I think that's what we try to achieve with this lecture, is to get the driving force of what Bob liked in life to continue through to today. And so what did Bob like? Bob was an absolutely remarkable character who didn't like the establishment. And he didn't like people telling him what to do and how to think and how to do things. And that the reason that the Sainsbury Centre and the Sainsbury Research Unit and the Sainsbury Institute for the Study of Japanese Art and Culture exist was that driving force to change both who and how art and material culture were met and understood. And that, for me, is the driving force of what we're here to celebrate and try and achieve. And what Bob was really, in my mind, great at was that he never let the bold and ambitious fall victim to a fear of failure. And he was a dramatically bold person, and he did that both in his business, leading to huge success with Sainsbury's, but he also did it with art, even though he had no background in that subject area. And I think that is something that we're here to celebrate and continue today. But having said that the establishment should be broken, I am the establishment this evening, and which is slightly awkward and embarrassing. And therefore, I have to give you the establishment messages, and they are important. So we are not expecting a fire alarm this evening. So should a fire alarm sound, please evacuate by the fire exits and assemble outside. I should let you know that we are filming tonight's performance, and so please be aware of that. And if you are going to do something dramatic, just be aware you're being filmed. And please turn off your mobile phones so that tonight's performance is not disturbed by the wonder of technology. And it's really my job to introduce Professor Steve Hooper, the Executive Director of the Sainsbury Research Unit, who's going to introduce our speaker this evening. And Steve, I think everyone will agree, is certainly someone who has not been afraid to challenge the orthodoxy and edifice of the Academy. And that is why the Sainsbury Research Unit is such an incredible thing. Over many decades now, breaking the boundaries and being ahead of the curve of many academic traditions. And I think that's what makes Steve such a wonderful leader of the SRU, and such a pleasure to introduce him this evening. Steve Hooper.
Well, thank you, Jago, for that unexpected compliment there. And it's my pleasure, really, to say a few words about our speaker, George Nuku. And George requested not to give a conventional lecture, and we said, the floor is yours. So instead, he's going to give us a dramatic performance as a storyteller, which he is expert at. And as it's not a lecture, and he won't be reviewing or discussing his work, as an artist in a lecture format, at that rate, I'd like to say a few words about his work and his connection to the Sainsbury Centre and the Sainsbury Collection. George first came to the UK in 2006, when he participated with several other Pacific Island artists in the Pacifica Styles exhibition at the Cambridge University Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology. After that opening, he came the following week to the opening of the exhibition we did here, called Pacific Encounters. Art and Divinity in Polynesia, 1760 to 1860, very precise it was historically. And this is just a view inside that exhibition of some remarkable and very fine and very rare sculptures from Polynesia. So George turned up for the opening, and it became something of a joke between us that George came for a day and he stayed 3 months. And he was so entranced and enraptured with the Polynesian treasures on display in the exhibition and with the Sainsbury collection generally that he said he felt completely at home in the big house, which is the Sainsbury Centre. So he participated in the exhibition as a visiting artist, and he also worked tirelessly with the education team and outreach department here, and especially with Veronica Sekulis, who was then head of education. Just to show you here what George did, this is a remarkable sculpture from Rurutu, originally made in the 16th century, in fact, but which was handed over to London Missionary Society missionaries in 1821. And George did a response to this sculpture. He had never seen this really in the flesh, so to speak, only in books. And he made, from a Sainsbury Centre display case, with applied plastic images and things like that, a response, a new atea, which means, as a play on words, like a new god. And he also carved a polystyrene whare, a Maori house, although the images within it were taken stylistically from different parts of Polynesia, and this featured outside the Sainsbury Centre when we had a big Polynesia Family Day in 2006. And also, he was like the Pied Piper. School children were absolutely riveted by him, his appearance, the way he conducted himself, and here he is. Basically, we had a big welcoming banner in all the different languages of Polynesia, welcoming people to the exhibition, and then he went out to schools and he was making necklaces and things, and he became a real feature of this entire exhibition process. George later moved to Europe, and he now lives in France. He exhibited at the Venice Biennale in 2009 and has created exhibitions in major museums and galleries all over Europe. In 2014, he developed an exhibition theme called Bottled Ocean, and this has been through several versions since, including in Vienna in 2022, when he filled rooms in the Welt Museum and other spaces in Vienna with his own works and incorporating the historic works in that museum. And George has developed a tradition of working with many people, adults and school children, in assembling these exhibitions and indeed helping with the installation. So here we see all these bottles being assembled and the polystyrene panels, which ended up in the exhibition in this magical sort of submarine environment that he creates through plastic bottles. He also did a version of this in Edinburgh as well, so these are other views of the Bottled Ocean exhibitions, and he did another version in Edinburgh last year in 2023. And you'll see that he entitles the exhibitions 2123 and 2122, because this is a sort of an imagined development, an imagined world, submarine world, 100 years hence. The environmental and other messages, of course, are very evident in this. I needn't say any more about that. George has often referred to himself as the plastic Maori, and as a counter to the usual disdain in which that material is held. He says there's nothing wrong with plastic, the problem is what humans do with it, chuck it away. He says that 200 years ago, Maori sculptors only had wood or stone or bone to work with. But today, other materials are available, including plastic, perspex, polystyrene, and he's happy to work with all of them. This approach is typical of George's originality of thought and indeed of practice. He has said that he's not the native, that other people, Europeans and Pacific Islanders, often want him to be. He does not always say what they want him to say. He cuts through the political and moral grandstanding that can sometimes accompany discussion of Maori or Pacific history, which often involves over-sentimentalizing about and ignorance of historical realities. But George is also very respectful of all his ancestors, Maori and European. He was brought up on the east coast of the North Island of New Zealand, largely by his grandmother, who instilled in him codes of respect, of hard work, and of finishing what you started. This was evident when I first heard him speak in Cambridge in 2006, when he said, and I'm paraphrasing, his grandparents didn't put him on this earth to complain about the past, but to contribute something for the future. So that's what he's been attempting to do all his life. Bob Sainsbury's great passion in the arts was sculpture, and he had a strong emotional connection with sculptures, ancient and modern. And this was not sentimental. It wasn't that they spoke to him, but he felt there was a force in sculpture, and he felt it. And this is perhaps not so far from George's Maori understanding of the works of the ancestors, that they possess a life force, a Maori, a spirit, wairua, and a divinely inspired power, mana. It's therefore highly appropriate that as a sculptor, George is the first practicing artist to deliver the Robert Sainsbury Lecture, after curators such as Neil McGregor and Gus Casely-Hayford and the architect Norman Foster. So it's a pleasure for me to welcome and invite George Nuku to deliver today his art-based drama for the Robert Sainsbury Lecture. Thank you.
O kotoko te moto e. E ka poki te rā, e ka poki te marama. E ka poki ngā whetu o ta kura kariro e. Kimi hia, rango haua, kei whea koutou kuanaro e. Eia, ha ha. Te rā ki paro, ki te hoina o te kahurahangi. Ka okti atu koutou e hika mai e. A tēnā koutou katoa, te hei Maori ora. Salutations and greetings to you all. I'm George Nuku. And I'd like to share with you this evening some stories, okay? They are 3 types of stories, and they have a relationship with each other, so please pay attention. Firstly, I ask you please to please allow your mind to travel. Allow your mind to travel to another time and another place. To a place called Aotearoa, to an island called Te Ika Maui. Faraway place, and in a time before metal. As Cook said, before any sort of iron. That time. Picture in your mind a forested land, heavily covered in forest and swamp and marshland. And in this forested land, you can see a raised hillock amongst the forested land. This hillock has been cleared. And on this hillock is a community lives. And on this hillock, they've fortified their position. So on this hillock is a bastion, and it's a fortified, what we call a pātū wata, a fortified settlement where the community has based themselves. It is the time of raumati, the high summer. It is the time of the high summer. The light is bright, extremely bright, glaring, and the light bounces off the cleared land. The glare is stronger. And this is the season of te pakanga. This is the war season. This is the season when the crops are all safely and resources are all safely gathered and stored. And the people are on high alert because they know they're at risk of other people, other groups, other communities attacking them for their resources. So the community is on high alert during the high summer. They're sending out runners to the frontier. The runners are running to the frontier, coming back with reports, constant vigilance is occurring. So the atmosphere amongst the community is tense. The people are on high alert. And the mood is ugly. There's an ugly mood in the morning, and permeating throughout the whole community. The atmosphere of the community is ugly mood. And this feeling is like this because the matatoa, the hotheads, the braves, you know, the young warriors. They've spent all morning and they continue into the early afternoon. And they're dueling with each other. And they're in combat with patu and taiaha. And they're fighting each other, challenging each other to duels. And it's serious business, huh? Bruising's happening. Bones are even being broken. As these warriors challenge each other and give it their best. And they're fighting each other. While this is going on, the rest of the community is hard at work, huh? They're fortifying a bastion, a position, strengthening it. And in that position they're in the process of erecting what we call a pou whakarai, a pillar, main post of the construction of the fortification, mounted with a figure to challenge people and protect the community. Huh? So meanwhile, the warriors, they're all in combat. They're fighting each other. No quarters given. They fight each other for see who is the best of them of the day. Huh? The best of them who goes in the hole. That the post goes on. They're fighting for that. Who's going in the hole? Eventually, there's one who's the one to go in the hole. From that moment, all of those competing warriors completely turn their attitude. It completely turns around. And they go from brutal competition to completely supporting their relation who's going in the hole, their relative. It's all about him. They support him with everything they've got. The community gathers around the hole. The warriors, they hold the ropes, the flaxen ropes from the tower so that the post is suspended from, the structure. They hold the flax ropes above the hole. Their muscles are burning. They're holding it. They won't let it go. The flax starts to stretch, and talk, and sing. And they won't let go. And they hold it. They will not let go. And they hold it with everything they've got. Meanwhile, the community gathers around the hole. They're lamenting and they're wailing. And all this is swirling around the hole. The women are taking tuhua, black obsidian glass, lacerating their bodies. They lacerate their bodies. The tears and the mucus, the blood, it congeals into tendrils as it congeals, touching the earth. The community's all around this hole. It's swirling and swirling, all of this energy swirling around. The boy, he stands in the hole. He looks up. He sees the darkness of the hole. The dark post occupying the center and around is a ring of light. That's what he sees. He stands in the hole. He sees this ring of light. The community's there. They perform haka. He feels it. He feels it. The thump. He feels the thump of 200 feet in unison as it comes through the earth to him, entering his body and his very marrow of his bones. He feels it, huh? He feels the community swirling around, counting, chanting, lamenting, crying. They won't let go! They're holding a rope! And the people, go! Before we were discovered, before we were catalogued, before we were the subject of anthropological discourse, before the subject of glossy coffee table books, blockbuster museum exhibitions, and accompanying conferences, before the stories. Perhaps that's all we've got left, are these stories. But perhaps that's all we ever truly had, these stories. Perhaps that's all we ever needed. Perhaps that's all we ever needed was these stories. A measurement of life. A measurement of life. Like that. A measurement of life. As another measurement of life superimposes itself upon this a measurement of life. Telling this measurement of life that it is irrelevant. I want you now to please imagine an object. Imagine an object, okay? This object is made of metal. This object is rectangular in form, like this, okay? This object is thick metal, like a grill. It's 2 meters long by 1/2 of a meter wide. This heavy iron grill. On the underneath of this grill, imagine, sharp spikes protrude from the underside of this grill. So, on the top of this grill, in each corner, metal lugs, round type like that, in each corner of this grill, with the spikes beneath. Attached to these lugs are 4 chains going like this, okay? 4 chains going upwards as this thing is suspended. The weight of this grill means that it's constantly going down, 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 like that. It comes down until it pierces my back, and the pain is excruciating. Pierces my back. It continues down and down and down into my back. The human is a remarkable animal in our ability to cope. In time, my flesh forms around the grill. In time, my skin grows over the grill. In time, I start to walk around and looks like I'm leading a kind of a normal life with the grill on my back. In time, I get accustomed to the grill, and I think things are like normally. I can do normal stuff, normal things. However, sometimes it's a bit hard to raise my arms. For some reason, I can't raise my arms all the way up like I used to. In time, I find it increasingly difficult to remember the time before the grill. It starts to become increasingly difficult to remember there was a time before the grill. But something reminds me. So I say to myself, I must try and take the grill out of my back. So I prepare myself. I take my arms like so, and I attempt to take the grill out of my back. I can't do it. It's too hard. I can't do it. I just can't do it. It's just too hard. Time passes. I say to myself, I've got to take the grill out of my back. Down again. Can't do it. It's just so hard. But I know I have to do it. I say to myself, come on, man. You've got to give it your all. Commit everything. You got to do it. Try. Okay. I get back down. I prepare myself. I go past that pain, that threshold. I feel the skin rupturing, ripping and tearing. I get the grill out of my back. I grab the grill. I can't believe it's happened. I throw the grill on the ground. The moment I dreamed of has arrived. I stand there. The grill is on the ground at my feet. The moment has come. Oh, pane! Oh, go pane! Oh, pane, go pane! Viti terra! Hey! Hang on. I feel my back. Half of it's gone. Where's my back gone? It's gone. My back is no longer there. It's gone. I look down at this grill. The teeth that were in the grill, they've corroded away. They're gone. Where have they gone? I look down at this grill. I can see parts of my skin and flesh and blood forming the surface of the grill. It creates a patina on the grill. It looks like roses. It reminds me of my grandmother's garden. Wow. And in that moment, I feel something. I feel something in that moment. Maybe it was the flowers that made me feel something, but I feel something. I bend down. I pick up the grill. I stand the grill up. I look at the grill. And in that moment, something else happens. That the moment of me looking at the grill has passed. It's passed, it's gone. I stand the grill next to me. I look in the window, the reflection of the glass. I look at it, and I regard this joint reflection. I see a joint reflection of the grill and I. I realize how much the grill defines me now. And equally, how much I define the grill. And in that moment, I know there's no turning back for the grill and I. There's no turning back. And the one thing I do know is that I will never, ever be separated from the grill. Ever. We're together. Side by side. No longer this, but this. I want you now to picture right now, today, right this moment. And in this moment, in that place that I introduced you to in the beginning, there is a community. And in this community, an important moment is happening to this community. A carved post that once stood atop a Pouwhakarai has returned to the community from the museum. It started its journey long before, travelled, collected all of this stuff on this amazing trajectory, through many hands. Made its way back into the collections of the museums of New Zealand. 40 years ago, the ancestor travels again, leaves the land again with others. They travel to New York. They travel to Chicago. They travel to St. Louis. They travel to San Francisco. They return in triumph. They travel 4 centres the breadth of the country. They become celebrities at home. They ignite people like me of my generation. We're ignited by them. We become identified in the world as art tradition. We take our place along all the other great art traditions. In the time of those 40 years, negotiations take place. And the ancestor comes home. Imagine, if you can, members of the community having their say, speaking. The first member of the community addresses the ancestor. E te tupuna kua hoki mai nei. Hoki mai nei ki te wākaina nei. E te tupuna hoki maira, hoki maira, hoki maira. You have returned. You have come back to us. You have come back to where you belong. You are with us. Our hearts are gladdened for this day. The second speaker stands and speaks. Similar vein of conversation. You have been so separated from us in those places, in those shelves and cupboards, in those dark places, alone. You have been so lonely, waiting, saddened that you are not with us. And now you are with us again. We feel complete. And we so celebrate that you are back with us in the bosom of your family once more. A last person has a say. E kira, you stand. Look at you. You are made to stand. You are made to protect. From all your journeys and your status as a celebrity in the world, some of the old people 4 decades ago told us stories about you. They told us the stories of you. They told us how you stood in the hole. They told us about you stood in the hole so we would survive. That you would give us what it takes to survive. You sold yourself for that. You paid for that. I say, I know you can pay again. I know you will sell yourself again for us. So we should sell you back to the museum. We should sell you. We would have an option on the table, another option on the table. Because at the moment, all we have is crumbs off the big table in Wellington. That's our option. And believe me, they are crumbs. That we could build with that option. We could build our art centre, our clinic, our learning institute. We would not have to go and convince people and seek authority from people of the right to convince people of who we are in order to get those crumbs. The galling humiliation that we have to hear every day from those others who tell us that Maori get preferential treatment. The galling humiliation of that. That we would sell you for that again. Because we have become a nation of grant writers. That's what we have become. And we would build that centre, build that place of art of our people. And our narrative of you in the whole again, would be spoken constantly. It would form the narrative of our self-determination, of the new way forward. It would be in the front of our thoughts. That's different from saying we got the money from the government. It's so different. And perhaps we could change. Perhaps there could be a pathway for us to change. And so the community faces big choices. It's in their hands now. But they have choices. They have options on the table. Of course, the choice belongs to them which route they take, but they have choices. And those options, that's the pathway for our change. O tika tonu atu ki a koe he tama. Hiki nei koe atu whakaro pakia. E hiki to ato hiki. E hiki ro ato hiki. Eia ha ha. E tama te wawana. e tamate wano. Wo ina hokira, te tohia e pawana, e tau nei. Anax, 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 so he. Thank you.